Hello, I'm Bret Moss, and you're watching The Defining Moment for Creating the Culture of Conscience. Our guest today is Nat Nehdar. Nat is the Human Relations Commissioner for the city of Pasadena, California, where he has served for 9 years. Nat also has 40 years' experience as a motivational public speaker. Our guest was born in Iran and has lived in the United States for the past 54 years. He has a bachelor's degree in liberal arts and a master's degree in finance from the University of Washington in Seattle. Nat has 3 children and 5 grandchildren. Nat Nehdar, welcome to The Defining Moment. It's really my pleasure to welcome you here today.
Thank you, Bret. I'm delighted to be on your show.
Thank you for coming. Our topic today is empowering young people. And I want to begin by asking you to share a defining moment from your youth, Nat, when you came to America.
My defining moment, Bret, began when I was about 13 and a half years old. I had just left Iran, flying on a KLM to come to the United States to go to school. And when the plane landed in Amsterdam, I was in a process of really looking around the airport, and the time the plane was ready to take off, the stewardess asked me for my documentation, which was my documentation for studying in the United States. Not being able to speak one word of English at that time, the only thing I had was a letter of introduction from my parents in English, telling people who would read the letter that I did not speak English and please help me. So they kept asking me about that documentation. I did not understand them. So finally they took me to a map showing me that I have to go from Amsterdam back to Iran, and I kept saying, no, I'm going from Amsterdam to United States. This went on for a few moments. Finally, I had to give up because I felt I do not understand them. They know what they're talking about. So they took my hand and they started walking me back to a different terminal. As we were walking, I had a KLM bag. And when I left Iran, they had given me a lot of gifts, several boxes of candies. I reached into my KLM bag to pull one of the boxes out to give to one of the ladies. When I did that, the emblem seal that was on the documentation, for some reason, popped out. The stewardess saw that, and that's what she was looking for. As soon as she took that out, in her own language, told me that's what I need. We went back to the counter. They called the plane that was really ready to take off at the end of the runway. They put me on a cart with tears in the eyes of the stewardess, including myself. They drove me to the end of the runway, and they brought at that time with platforms.
Mm-hmm.
You walked up. When I came inside the plane, everybody started applauding.
They were waiting for you to get
waiting
on the
for
plane.
me. Yes, because they had realized what was happening.
Yeah.
And I believe that was really a very defining moment in my life, because God had a journey for me, a plan for me to come to the United States, and as I told you before, to be seated today here being interviewed by you, Bret.
Yeah, and if you hadn't pulled out that box of candy, you would probably maybe have never even come to America. Who knows?
Who knows what journey would have been for me.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you so much.
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. That's a
My
very
pleasure.
touching, very moving testimony. Thanks. Why is it that so many young people have such a difficult time finding purpose and meaning in their lives today, Nat?
It has to do a lot within the family raising. Quite often the parents themselves do not have a direction in life, do not know what they need to relate to the children. They do not know how to set examples for the children. As a reason, the children become separated in some ways. They are lost. They don't have a direction. They are always searching for self-finding. They're looking for a role model, for someone that loves them truly, who is on their side. And unless the parents themselves, when they realize they want to have a child, and it's really a blessing and a miracle to have a child. Mm-hmm. Once the God gives them the blessing and have children, they must be prepared for that child. They must be ready in every aspect of the way by saying to themselves that we are going to be there for that child for the rest of our lives in many different ways. We're going to love the child, raise the child very properly, respectfully. We're not going to interact among ourselves with any hate, prejudice, discrimination. We're going to be uplift. We're going to be happy. We're going to love each other. We're going to set examples every day, because the child will see how we act, and therefore, as a result, a child becomes a product of home environment. And from the learning of the parents, by seeing the parents with self-determination, self-confidence, a direction set for themselves, happiness, love, and so forth, that child most likely, Brett, will have a self-esteem, will have a positive attitude, will have a direction in life. And communication with the parents are very imperative because the formative years is the key to the raising of a child for the future of that individual.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there are many children that don't have the benefit of being able to grow up with two parents or even enjoy the kind of love and care you're talking about. So in the case of a child that doesn't have that, what can they do to find meaning and purpose in their lives?
Well, that's where the community gets involved, Brett. I believe that we are not supposed to be separated. We are supposed to be a unit, a family within community, a family within a family. And there's so many alternative ways. Schools, churches, your religious belief, whatever you might be attending, a synagogue, a mosque, a church, or anywhere else, basically, there are people that should be looking out for the children.
Non-profit organizations.
Non-profit organizations. There's so many organizations that they can truly intervene with a child's life, with respect, of course, if they have both parents or one single parent, and make sure that that child becomes part of their life. Because quite often we tend to say, I'm only concerned about my own children. But we don't realize that unless we are involved in other children's lives in some ways, then our children are not going to be growing up in a community, in a society of togetherness. Because we are people bound truly to be together.
Yeah. And so that's part of the reason why we have gang problems in major cities in America, is because the youth are looking for that sense of belonging, right? And they sort of get sucked into that negative.
Very true. Yes, because
family.
The gang itself really is a belonging, is like a club belonging to something, and in many cases in a negative way. If the youth came together for positive ways to help, to find, to serve, to do something in a positive way, there's nothing wrong with that. But once they are lost themselves and they come into another lost soul, then you can imagine what happens. They're trying to make a point. They're trying to create a territory for themselves.
Yes.
That's their way of speaking out, that we have power now. We are going to get what we don't have. We are going to get what you have, we don't have, and so forth. And one wrong leads to another wrong, and so forth.
It just spirals out of control.
Spirals out of control.
Very clear. What's missing in our communities and cities, which, if present, would, in your view, radically alter the quality of life for young people? I think you've alluded to it in a sense, but what else is missing in our communities?
I think the family involvement, the family and the community involvement within the lives of the youth. I, for the past 11 years, have had the fortune of being involved in a unified school district in Pasadena, whereas I go to a class 1 hour per month, year-round, and I teach children the values regarding high moral standards. All the things that we have just begun to talk about, how to empower children for a better life and better future. And I've found, Brett, that most of the young people today are lacking the closeness that they need with parents within the family. The love, they miss a lot of love, a lot of attention that's required. Many of them are not told every day that I'm delighted to have you as my child. You are precious to me. I love you dearly. I'm very proud of you. I'm here for you. I feel I'm blessed to have you. Because the more you show the love to the children, the more you give the child a self-confidence, a self-determination. And as a result of that, many of the children have accepted me as a role model. Because the first thing I do in every class, I tell the children that I'm there because I love them. I'm there to work with them.
You're kind of a surrogate parent for many of the kids you come in contact with.
To some extent, Brett. And I began all my classes with having the children stand up, shake hands with each other, wish each other a great day. Even if they want to hug, go ahead and hug. Then with music. And I found that really motivates them, uplifts them. And when I walk into class, almost every single student walks up to me and they want a hug, a real hug.
Wow.
And I found that it's a true meaning of sharing, serving, because God has given us the emotional feelings. Why do we keep it inside? Why don't we share it? Because through the energy, if I can uplift someone, I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good. Because we all need a hug, we all need a hello, we all need a smile every day. There's too much in this world today that we are faced with obstacles, with tragedies, with sorrows, and we need to do something to really overcome these problems. And I don't believe that we always can say to ourselves, or we hear from others, well, it can never be done. We can never have world peace. Why not? The question I ask, why not? It begins with the children. It begins within the family structure. That's why I believe that family gathering, the family togetherness is a wonderful thing that God has given us. And that is really the basic way for a community and society come together through families.
Very clear. Now tell us something about the moral values that you teach young people.
I teach moral values. First of all, they have to be honest to themselves. Don't ever deceive yourself, because you can lie to me, but you can lie to yourself or God. And if you know you're lying, then you're deceiving yourself. Who are you fooling? You're not fooling me, you're fooling yourself. And they must understand that with that concept, they will have more self-confidence. By not lying, then they need to become better educated. By not lying, they need to be standing on their own 2 feet, whatever they want to learn in life. Because the more you know about your attributes, about your qualification, about your self,
your gifts,
your
talents,
gifts, abilities. There's so much, Bret, that we need to know about ourselves. Even as of today, I'm trying to search and find myself, because we are always learning. Because in this world, every moment you're learning something. There's no time that anyone can say, I know it all.
Right.
Because when that person says that to you, that person's a fool.
Stop learning at that
Stop learning, because life is a process of learning. So, and I expand beyond that they need to respect another fellow human being, because they are going to be in contact with human beings throughout their life.
Yes.
So get to know them. Don't prejudge them, because we're not on this earth to judge each other. We should get along as best we can. And if you respect someone, you have to give respect first and receive respect. You get along with someone, fine. If you don't get along with someone, you just wish them a great day and go your separate ways.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. What have you found to be the most effective avenue for empowering young people of all walks of life?
I have found truly to set an example for them as a role model. If they believe who you are, and children are very keen to know whether or not a person is truthful, a person is caring for them,
authentic,
or he's just a facade. Once you create that relationship of trust and you demonstrate to children that what you talk about, and as we say, you preach, you practice,
yes,
they believe in you and they feel good about it. And they need to be united. I try to unite the children together. They don't feel different as the next person because of race, color, gender, nationality, religion, belief, or sexual preference. I tell them, respect who you are. Respect 100% your religious belief, your culture, your background, but do not overpower another person with your belief system. Learn about that. Learn about each other's culture. Exchange. Because the more they learn about each other, they feel more comfortable. Because quite often children, again, once they leave the home domain and go into society, Bret, the way they were raised, that affects them every day. If a parent say, do not associate with someone of a different color, that child will act exactly what the parents has told him or her. What I do, I break the barrier that we are all human beings. It doesn't matter what color, doesn't matter what race.
So you establish that as the common ground.
As a common ground.
Fundamental.
Yes,
platform.
But it's not just defined verbally or one word, Bret. It's extended. For example, I hold maybe several sessions on how to overcome hate or prejudice, discrimination, what it does to individual, what it does to the community, society as a whole. I bring examples of what's going on in this world today because of exactly that.
Yeah.
What has happened for years because of discrimination and prejudice, and what a scar is left on an individual emotionally and mentally and sometimes physically for a lifetime. And therefore we have no right, Bret. We have no right truly to judge another person based on the color of skin, because God has created us the way He wanted us. Because as I look at you, you could have been a different color, right. Or you're looking at me, I could have been a different color, but that's the way who we are. So I try to eliminate the barriers through the true understanding of the human relations, human understanding.
And it's those kind of things that get cemented in our youth, right? And as young people, those concepts become a part of who we are.
Yes, and I'm very pleased to tell you that the schools are doing a marvelous job also teaching the children about the same things that I'm talking about and you're talking about. Because most of us are really wonderful people in this world. There are only very few people that try to make this world a bad place for the rest of us.
Yes.
And thank God for that. And I believe since children are our biggest assets and the future of this country and the world, we must invest in them as much as possible.
And not just financially, but you're talking about really get to know
Yes,
them.
I'm not talking about monetary at all. I'm talking investment of time, dedication, love, respect, education, because the return is so great, Bret, that no amount of money in this world can substitute for that. It's the greatest investment and the greatest joy when you see the children that you have been involved in their lives turn out to be fine citizens, fine people.
Blossom in front of you.
Absolutely.
That's great. In your work with youth, what has surprised you most about their hopes and dreams?
Some of the children do not really have any hopes or dreams. They do not see what is headed for them. Some of them are even despaired because the society has put a lot of pressure on them today. What I try to do for them, try to take them on a journey with the truth about the reality, not only what is happening today in their own community, but what's happening today in the world. I bring the 21st century into classes for children to see if they are going to make a change in the world for the betterment of themselves and the future, they must take this stand. They must have hope. They must have desire. Because without hope, we cannot go forth. Without hope, it will be a darkness in our heart and soul. Hope is the key to achievement. Hope is the key to success. But I also try to have them visualize, because without visualization, you cannot make things happen.
Say some more about that.
Yes, visualization is something that if you want to become a doctor, you try to visualize. Visualize the doctor. Then you try to find out as much as possible about the work of a doctor. But most importantly, you must have truly the desire from the bottom of your heart that you want to serve another human being. You want to help another human being. Not just for a monetary aspect of it, because if you do anything in this world and it's only for monetary gain, it's not going to work.
You're not going to be satisfied.
You're not going to be satisfied because, in my point of view, we are here on this earth to serve each other. And serving is the greatest reward by truly helping someone, to uplift them. If I am walking down the street, and quite often I do that, as you do,
yes,
I say hello to strangers. And I've found many of them respond back with a smile. We're all seeking that happiness. We're all seeking that hope. We're all seeking that interaction. But again, because the way we are raised, we tend to hold ourselves in that perspective of our teaching, in the perspective of the so-called secure zone.
Yes.
My zone is open. My zone is a human race. My zone is everyone. That is the fun that is giving me the satisfaction.
The richness of
the
life.
richness, yeah. Absolutely. The lack of hope that people have is, to me, is the darkness.
Well, it's a result of this kind of alienation that people feel in our society today.
Yes, they do, Bret. Absolutely. So with this concept, the children see hope. They see direction. They see a vision. And they also are able to judge for themselves. Because when I communicate with them, I do not tell them you must do what I do, what I say. I only say what I share with you, you listen, expand within your own mind, give it a shot. If you like it, if it works for you,
try it on.
Try it on. Share it with others. And if it doesn't, thank you for listening.
Okay, great. What have you found to be some of the most effective and meaningful ways in which adults can contribute to young people who would like to develop their unique gifts and talents?
Encourage them. Do not disappoint them. Do not say it doesn't work. Again, youth are very smart today. And youth are looking to be appreciated. Youth has a voice. There are so many wonderful things, Bret, you can learn from young people. It's unbelievable. But they want to be heard. In our society, we do not listen to young people. We think we know it all.
And that's a crime, isn't
That's
it?
a crime. As I said, we are fools. We are fools to say we know it all. Children want to be heard. If you truly sit down and listen. Listen means that you pay attention 100% to what the young person is listening. Your thought should not be someplace else. Your thought should be on what is coming out of the mouth of the young person.
As if to learn something that you've never heard before in that very moment.
Absolutely. Be humble. Don't be ready to jump and give your point of view. Listen and answer the question or answer what the person is searching. And if you do not know, be honest and truthful to the young person and say, I'm sorry, I cannot answer that. But let us together find the answer for you.
So it's not about having the right answers all the time. Sometimes it's about empowering them to find that answer.
That's true, because
wherever they need to look.
That brings you closer, because if you start dictating, if you start directing again, the young person will say, here we go again. They know it all. They're not listening to me. I'm not satisfied, because the conclusion of a good art of listening is for both parties to be satisfied, especially the person who began to talk, by saying, I appreciate for you listening. I appreciate for the direction you have given me. I feel good now. You have empowered me to go to the next level of my life.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. When young people find themselves alienated from their family or community, or feel left out of their own peer group, what are some of the best ways for them to discover new meaning and value?
Well, if the individual is not going to the wrong road and is willing to seek new direction, new avenues, as we said before, there are so many ways, alternative ways, for someone to come into the life of a child. Right now, there are so many organizations on the internet. A young person, depending, of course, on the age, but their families, beside the individual father and mother, should be also aware of their nephew, nieces, any family member.
Extended family.
Extended family. That is very important, because in Iran, I was involved almost every day with almost every one of my family members. Not only my parents, brothers and sisters, but my uncles, nephews, grandparents. It was an ongoing basis. And they were truly involved in our lives. Phone calls would come in every day. For example, if I may use you, how's Bret? How is he doing in school? How is he feeling if you were sick? What does he need? And we were always going back and forth to each other's home. And if they saw an alternative mood change, if they saw something different in us, they would get involved. And we were so close, we were able to open up. Because if you have that close relation with children, and you're aware of their actions, their behavior, their pattern, and you have a close relationship, children will open up with you.
Yes.
They will share with you.
And if there's something wrong or some difficulty they're experiencing, you'll detect that.
You can detect that, then that's where you can hopefully direct the child back to the right road. And I hope that is the key, because it would be truly sad for children that have come with the blessing of God into someone's life. They're not taken with precious love, with respect, and being so proud to be so gracious, to be so humble, to have a child. There's so many people in this world today, Bret, who are doing so much to have a child. They can't have a child. They're spending thousands of dollars to have a child.
Yes.
They can't have a child. And people who have children, many of them don't really take care of that child they were supposed to.
They don't appreciate that opportunity.
Yes.
Okay, very clear. Thank you. You talked earlier about the fundamental relationship that children have to their parents. If a child knows, or a young person knows, that they have unresolved issues with their parents, how can they go about solving those unresolved issues?
If it's both parents and they're blessed to have brothers or sisters, depending what age they are, if they're older, they should approach them and talk to them.
Through their brothers and sisters.
Through the brother and sister. And if they're not satisfied again, they have not reached the plateau of what they're trying to do, they should perhaps go to relatives. And if they're in school, they have counselors in schools. They should be able to go to a counselor and open up. Quite often...
To not be afraid of the counselor.
Absolutely.
To see the counselor as somebody who can facilitate something for them.
Right. There are too many children today in our country, Bret, that are denied of, as you indicated, expression of feeling. They're denied of expanding. They are denied with the problem that goes in their home environment to share, to talk to someone. Because if you're unable to share your inner feeling, if you're not able to expand your hostility, then God forbid, problem arises. We have seen that over and over again. I can recall for you, for example, the problem took place at Columbine High School shooting.
Sure.
The two young men, and I still believe as of this date, had their parents, the community, the counselor, the students were involved in their lives, those 14 lives would have been saved.
Yes. And what about approaching their parents directly? How can a young person go about solving something with their own parents that maybe they've been carrying with them for a long time?
Who would be better friends than parents? Is again what parents said with the child before a child is born, by saying these are our standards. We are going best friends with our child. We're going to create a relationship that our son or daughter will be able to come to us and talk to us anytime they please, without any reservation or hesitation or fear. We have
to not
to
be afraid of your own parents.
That's right.
To know that beyond all of the difficulties, there's love there.
Absolutely. Who better to go to except parents? They are your flesh and blood. They are the ones who, through the God's creation, brought you in this world. But quite often, again, parents are not able to set that tone. They're not able to demonstrate. And it starts with them. If parents communicate effectively together on an ongoing basis, for example, the best time would be when they have meals together, to turn off the TVs, put aside everything, just concentrate on communication, but listen to your children. It's not time for parents to talk about things, Bret. It's time about children. Ask children. Make that dinner an important time for them. So they know, they look forward, they can express their point of view about the ideas, about suggestion. Ask them, what do you think about the things taking place in our home? Want to change anything? How was your day? What is that we need to know so we can go forth with you? What is it that we need to know about perhaps to guide you or work with you? And when you make the child important at a young age, as they get older, dinner table would be the first thing they would love to run to.
Yes.
And they should also make one day a week, especially with your children. Nothing else of your children. It would be a day with your children.
To set that time aside.
Yes.
In your family. Well, Nat, we've come to the end of our interview. I want to thank you again so much for having been our guest today. It's really been a pleasure having you here today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for asking me, and it's been a pleasure to be on your show.
I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You've been watching The Defining Moment for Creating the Culture of Conscience. You can find us on the internet at www.definingmoment.tv. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.